What's up nerds, I'm Kendrick, your not so friendly neighborhood otaku, and welcome to my channel where I talk all things anime, manga, manhwa, and webcomics. If that's the type of thing you're into, then subscribe because I'll put one video out every Thursday to Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 2 to 3 shorts of anime commentary out every Monday to Wednesday also at 1 p.m. Today we're going to be continuing the series where I go back and reread the Jujutsu Kaisen manga over from the beginning and bring you all along with me. As always, this series is great for anyone who's a first-time JJK fan, anime only, who wants to get caught up, or who, like me, as the series progresses, begins forgetting some of those smaller moments and key details from earlier on in the series. So without further ado, let's get into Volume 8. In Chapter 62, Nobara defeated Kechizu using her hairpin technique, and she threatens to do the same to Eso. Yuji rushes in to finish Eso off, but holds back when he sees him crying over the death of his brother. Then Nobara and Yuji realize Kechizu didn't disappear like regular cursed spirits because he's flesh and blood. Shocked by this discovery, Eso uses it to his advantage and sees a truck passing by, taking its passenger hostage and trying to get away. Unable to catch up, Yuji claims he'll get revenge later, but Nobara uses her straw doll technique resonance on Eso's severed arm, piercing his chest with nails. This resonance attack was especially powerful since it was activated following the use of Black Flash, and it causes Eso to fall off the truck. Yuji prepares to finish him off, apologizing before punching clean through his chest with Divergent Fist. Due to the properties of Eso's blood, Yuji's hand is burned, but he also deals with the emotional pain of seeing Eso still there after he dies. Elsewhere, Chozo, Sudogero, and Mahito are playing a board game when the former realizes that his younger brothers have been killed. After searching through his phone, Sudogero announces that Eso and Kechizu were killed by the Jujutsu High first years, which excites Mahito. In Chapter 63, Yuji checks Nobara is okay, to which she says she's fine, despite the fact that her arm is scarred and there may be some residual poison flowing through her body. When wondering if Shoko will be awake to heal her, she notices Yuji is acting weird. He then asks if this is the first time Nobara has killed someone instead of exorcising them. Yuji did it once before with the transmogrified humans and was shaken, but Nobara doesn't seem to have a problem with it. To which she responds that Jujutsu sorcerers must follow their own moral compass. Although Yuji knows why they had to kill the cursed wombs, he was still saddened when he saw Eso crying over the death of his brother. Then Yuji and Nobara return to Under the Bridge where they find an unconscious Megami. They anxiously approach when he suddenly wakes up, grateful to see they're okay, causing them to yell at him for scaring them. He was lying down with the finger, which needs to be sealed as soon as possible. Nobara plans to call Akari, and Yuji offers to eat the finger, but they don't know how many fingers Yuji can consume. Megami decides to hand the finger over to Yuji, but Sukuna creates a mouth on his palm and eats the finger. 2 days later, Gojo calls Urahime to see if the mole has been sussed out, all while bragging about his students. Urahime notes they don't have any leads, but she'll continue to look into it. Elsewhere, Megami tells Nobara that Sukuna's incarnation is what triggered the Yasahachi bridge curse, and he asks her not to tell Yuji. At the same time, Sukuna taunts Yuji for all of those deaths, and he asks Sukuna to keep it a secret from Megami. After Aoi and Meimei reunite with Gakuganji, they recommend the Jujutsu High students be promoted to grade 1 sorcerers, since the level of danger on their successful mission far exceeded their current rank. In Chapter 64, we learn that anyone who receives a recommendation from 2 or more grade 1 sorcerers has to accompany a grade 1 sorcerer on missions. Based on the outcome of those missions, the sorcerer will receive a semi-grade 1 rank, and receive another mission to complete independently, which will determine whether they are or are not granted a grade 1 rank. While playing ping pong with Meimei, Aoi shares that he thinks Yuji will accept the recommendation, so he has a higher likelihood of running into more of Sukuna's fingers. In Tokyo, Ichichi takes Megami back home while Yuji and Nobara enjoy a leisurely day off. Nobara runs into a girl named Yuko Ozawa who, after sitting down together, shows her pictures of her from junior high when she weighed more than she currently does. Nobara then sees one of her other junior high photos where she's standing next to Yuji, and Yuko admits that she has a crush on him. Nobara immediately calls Ichichi and tells him to drop Megami off because she knows he'll have something to say. Megami is annoyed when he arrives, but quickly becomes interested when he's briefed on the situation. When Megami says that Yuji's probably single, Yuko asks what kind of girl he likes, but Megami only remembers him saying he likes tall girls. Since Yuko is tall, Nobara gets excited and calls Yuji to have him join them at the diner. When he arrives, Yuko doesn't think he'll recognize her since she looks so different from when they went to junior high together, but he immediately does. Yuko recalls overhearing him in junior high talk to other boys about how she's the girl he liked because he liked how elegantly she carried herself. Yuko appreciates that Yuji saw something in her that even she didn't, but now feels a little shallow. So she leaves without confessing to him. In Chapter 65, we flash back to when Meimei and Urahime were in school investigating a cursed mansion in Hamamatsu City. They get caught within a barrier that overlaps space, creating a never-ending hallway. Urahime decides they should split up and move unpredictably, presuming that once they get out, they should be able to attack or call for help. Before they put their plan into motion, explosion though, the mansion is torn apart by Gojo's curse technique Lapse Blue. He then teases Urahime as she recovers from the sudden explosion, asking if she's crying. But before she's able to berate him, a giant curse appears behind her. Suddenly, an even larger curse spirit appears and devours it. Geto orders his curse not to eat the other one yet until he can assimilate to it. Then Shoko appears, much to the excitement of Urahime, and they learn that she and Meimei were trapped in a rare type of barrier that manipulates time. Outside, Meimei then asks where the curtain is, shocking everyone as they realize they forgot to put one up. Soon after the explosion that destroyed the mansion makes the news, Yaga, who was still just a teacher at that time, calls in his students to question them. Shoko and Geto are quick to point out Gojo, but he complains that curtains are pointless since civilians can't see jujutsu or curses anyway. But Geto argues that it's important that regular humans can't see jujutsu sorcerers in order to keep peace of mind and hide the existence of curses. Gojo believes it's a pain looking out for the weak, but Geto believes jujutsu exists to protect non-sorcerers. Gojo hates those righteous ideals, and he and Geto get into an argument. Yaga then assigns the boys a mission together that comes straight from Master Tengen. There's a girl who's a perfect match for Master Tengen, known as the Star Plasma Vessel. Yaga tells them to escort her to Master Tengen and erase her. In chapter 66, Yaga gives Gojo and Geto the mission to bring the Star Plasma Vessel to Master Tengen, calling it an erasure. After joking around a bit, Geto asks if this mission is meant to reset Tengen's curse technique. Yaga explains that Tengen is immortal, but their curse technique doesn't stop the aging process. So once a certain age is reached, evolution will occur and Tengen will no longer be the same person. Tengen strengthens all barriers at both jujutsu high schools as well as the auxiliary manager's techniques. Once every 500 years, Tengen must merge with the Star Plasma Vessel, rewriting their body's information. Once their body is refreshed, their curse technique will stop trying to change bodies and evolution will not occur. However, the location of the Star Plasma Vessel was leaked and there are now two groups looking for her. One is the curse user group Q, who wants to take over the jujutsu world by having Tengen lose all reason, and the other is a star religious group that worships Tengen as their god. When Gojo and Geto leave for their mission, Geto explains that the religious group worships a pure Master Tengen, and they think the merger will sully that purity in their eyes. Then there's an explosion at the site where they're meant to find the Star Plasma Vessel, and a girl is thrown from the building by Q soldier Kokun. Before the girl can hit the ground though, Geto uses a flying curse to rescue her. Kokun demands Geto hands over the girl, but he refuses. Then Q soldier Bayaru throws 5 daggers at Gojo, but he uses infinity to halt them. When Bayaru confronts Gojo, Gojo says he won't beat him senseless if he cries and apologizes now. Meanwhile, a representative of the Star Religious Group, the Time Vessel Association, meets with a member of the Zenin clan to plan the assassination of the Star Plasma Vessel. The man claims he's not a Zenin anymore and goes by Toji Fushiguro and accepts the contract to kill the Star Plasma Vessel. In chapter 67, Geto effortlessly immobilizes Kokun with a curse that wants to kiss him. Kokun promises to stop being a curse user and go grow rice in the countryside if Geto lets him go, but Geto ignores him. Koku threatens that Bayaru, Q's strongest soldier, will come and kill them all, but Geto shows Kokun a picture of Bayaru defeated by Gojo. Meanwhile, Shiu Kong from the Time Vessel Association finds Toji betting on a boat race with his 30 million advance. Shiu is skeptical of Toji, but Toji is confident he'll get a return on investment, but unfortunately loses the bet. Shiu reminds Toji, who's known as the sorcerer killer, that he's counting on him, then asks how Megami's doing, but Toji doesn't remember who that is. Back with the Star Plasma Vessel, Riko awakens in Gojo's arms and immediately begins attacking him, thinking he's one of her attackers. That is, until her caretaker Misato Kuroi arrives. After getting on the same page, Riko begins to discuss her connection to Master Tengen, but Gojo and Geto ignore her. Since Riko will no longer exist after she merges with Tengen, Gojo and Geto are to oblige her request, and she heads off to school. Later, when Geto checks his surveillance curses, he realizes 2 of them have been taken out. He and Gojo head to find Riko immediately as 2 curse users trespass on the campus. We learn that Toji used the dark web to place a 30 million yen bounty on Riko's head, and these men have come to collect. In chapter 68, Toji's on the phone with Shio when he learns that the sorcerers protecting the Star Plasma Vessel have not returned back to Jujutsu High. This is good for the Time Vessel Association since now more than just lunatics will go after the bounty. However, Shio points out that the 30 million paid to Toji was a service fee, so if someone else kills the Star Plasma Vessel, he won't get any money. The sorcerer killer isn't worried though, since he knows Gojo will take care of anyone who tries to attack Riko. We learn that Gojo is the first person in his family in over 100 years to possess both the 6 eyes and limitless curse technique. Gojo's so strong, Toji plans on using curse users for the remaining 39 hours of the mission to wear Gojo down enough to where he could swoop in and secure the bounty. At Renchoku Girls Junior High, Gojo, Geto, and Kuroi move to find Riko, who should be in her music class, which takes place either in the music room or the chapel. They split up to find her, and Gojo's irritated since he wanted to stay being near Riko to protect her. Kuroi apologizes since she didn't want Riko to be seen with a boy at an all-girls school. Geto turns down a hallway and runs into an old man who recognizes the Jujutsu High uniform, immediately covering his front and back with Shikigami, assuming there are multiple opponents. The old man analyzes Geto and recognizes the student's curse technique as some form of curse manipulation. The old man tries to get close to Geto while they talk, but Geto tells him not to waste his time plotting and uses a giant worm-like curse that fills the entire hallway. Geto believes he won, but the curse user appears from the window behind him, having used the blind spots the giant worm-like curse created to his advantage. He gets in close and believes he has the advantage, but Geto dominates the old man and beats him senseless with a ferocious succession of quick strikes. He realized the old man wanted to get in close, and he says fighters who have one way to win are easy to manipulate. Geto questions if the curse user is aligned with Q or the Time Vessel Association, while Gojo and Kuroi head towards Riko in the chapel. Nearby is another curse user with a bag over his head. In chapter 69, Gojo barges into the chapel yelling for Riko, surprising everyone inside and embarrassing her. The young girls are enthralled by how cute Gojo is, and they ask Riko about him. He then takes off his sunglasses for them, annoying Riko with his confidence. Gojo then grabs Riko and escapes the chapel with her. While she's annoyed that they didn't follow her request, Gojo explains that curse users have attacked the school and he wants to get her to Jujutsu High when they're spotted by another curse user. Kuroi confronts the curse user from behind and asks if he's with Q or the Time Vessel Association. They start to fight, but he's quickly incapacitated by a strike below the belt. Shortly after, Geto arrives, surprised by Kuroi's strength. The curse user then confirms that Riko is the girl he saw a bounty for before dissolving into a puddle of mud. Geto then calls Gojo and tells him that there's a 30 million bounty on Riko's head with a time limit. Gojo understands and hangs up the phone while he and Riko are surrounded by 4 of the same curse user. Riko thinks the clones are Shikigami, and Gojo claims their opponent should have been a Jujutsu sorcerer. The curse user refuses and forms a 5th clone, claiming that being a professional sorcerer is more danger than it's worth. While the new clone is forming, Gojo acts quick, using curse technique Lapse Blue to take out 2 of them in an instant. Riko notices that the Shikigami haven't been dispelled, and Gojo corrects her, saying they're not Shikigami but clones of the real technique's caster. Then 2 of the clones get in close, but they can't bypass Gojo's infinity, making them an easy target for a counterattack. Thanks to the 6 eyes, Gojo is able to read his opponent's curse technique, and he decides to divulge his own, allowing him to create a magnetic force that brings the curse user in closer to him. Gojo then attempts to unleash curse technique Reversal Red Glow, but it doesn't work. So he's forced to knock his opponent out with a punch, which confuses Riko. Then she suddenly gets a picture of Kuroi captured by the enemy. In chapter 70, the final chapter of this volume, Geto apologizes to Riko and Gojo for leaving Kuroi behind without considering her importance to the enemy. Gojo believes their enemies will try to pull off a trade, but he knows they have the upper hand. He instead plans on coordinating with their opponents to rescue Kuroi, but Riko refuses, since she hasn't gotten to say goodbye yet and is worried the merge will happen before they rescue Kuroi. Gojo believes the enemy will contact them soon and agrees to bring Riko along, since she isn't scared and her going with them won't lower the chance of Kuroi's survival. The kidnappers demand Okinawa as the meeting spot, but Gojo, Geto, and Riko are able to rescue Kuroi and apprehend the kidnappers. They decide to enjoy themselves and hit the beach before heading back to Jujutsu High, since the next day Riko's bounty will be lifted and their mission will be complete. Jujutsu High took precautions, having first years Haibari and Nanami guard the premises. While both of them are committed to their duty, Gojo messes around with Riko and the others at the beach. Geto is worried that Gojo's curse technique is taxing on his body, but Gojo assures him that his presence makes everything okay. On the final day of the rescue mission, Riko reaches the foothills of the Tokyo Jujutsu High 4 hours after her bounty was lifted. They pass through a number of torii gates, bringing them inside the Jujutsu High barrier. With the mission almost complete, Gojo deactivates his technique when he's suddenly stabbed from behind by Toji. And that is everything in Volume 8. As always, for those of you who stuck it out all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching, and keep an eye out for next week where I'll post the full synopses for Volume 9. That is all for today though, and I will see you next time.